Now, I'm wondering, on your journey, on your musician journey, were there any artists that kind of influenced you, or you sort of thought, shit, I really like that, or helped you like on your journey? Were there like any influences that sort of not molded you, but helped you gently along the way? Have you got any sort of artists?
I'm sure. Yeah, I actually got asked this question the other day. I'm sure there are, like, subconsciously. I would say probably my dad. Like, there's obviously tons of artists, uh, even before I was born, to people that I uh, just like listening to now. But at the time, to answer your question, I'm sure there was. I just knew that I had ideas for what I
Mm,
wanted to make,
mm,
and I didn't understand how to do any of it. And I was willing to do whatever it took to understand it so that I could make it, to
mm,
then maybe even appreciate more the artists that I listened to and their craft and how they did it, and then get influenced by that. But I feel like that's for any artist though. We're all influenced by whatever we
mm.
listen to or whatever we grew up around. Again, I grew up my dad, so that's usually my answer to that question is
Yeah.
my father. My father, just being around him, the music. He was a big Steely Dan guy too, as well. Uh, like, which
Cool.
makes no sense musically, like, at least to what I do now. But I also love Steely Dan. They're great. Uh, but I just think it's a ton of influence of just how we grew up. But I don't know if there's anyone specific. But I
Mm,
would specifically probably say my father, my dad.
mm. Well, I guess from what you told me during our interviews, your influence to me sounds when you walked into the club and heard that music for the first time. That might have been an influence, because that's what seems to me what drove you on that path.
Yeah, I think that was the answer that I
Mm,
subconsciously was looking for. I
yeah.
don't even know if I was conscious, because I didn't. Like I said, I had the case of the efforts. I wasn't even looking for an answer. Honestly, I didn't care if I were. And this sounds super like morbid, but if I like, I'm gonna live here and I'm gonna, and hopefully enjoy, which again was with not the best things. While I'm here, and I'm just gonna die. As like I said, it's very morbid, but that was my small-minded thinking for so long and for so many years. So I always say music found me. I didn't find it. It happened so serendipitously, in the sense it was a fortunate accident. I was definitely in one of the worst places of my life, and tried something different that I had never done before, and found an answer that I didn't know I was looking for.
Here's a question I ask a lot of my guests, and they're musicians and non-musicians, and it's always interesting to hear. What do you think is the power of music?
The power of music. I think
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really, if you look back in the history of time, even to now, I think, I want to say it's everything, but I think it's almost, I mean, if just the influence that it has, and it's had on history in general. I think it's super important, and anyone in the position, uh, it's definitely an important role to play. And I think you can go on either side of that. There's a lot of things, uh, negative, that we can talk about that are happening in the world, that really don't essentially push any of it forward, but they just talk about it, which other people can also relate to, which I think all of it's, again, just like I said at the beginning, all of it needs to be said, and all of it is like deep conversations that a lot of us have, and very few then are just have the ability to sing it or to speak it or to write it, whatever it may be. Super important. But again, then there's other roles where it's like, well, if I could take all the information, and this is what recently has been my take on a lot of things, because a lot of my music prior to, I would say, like the last year and a half, it was very on topics of my past experience with life, and not so much like showing like appreciation to the negative. It was just about things that had helped me. And again, you tend to glorify, even if it's bad, and you're ignorant and you're naive to understanding that it will hurt someone else, or you're even at the place of your life where you're doing those things and you haven't had the repercussions, the negative. So you want to, you're gratified. It's like, this is going to help you. This is what helps. Let's do this. So that's where a lot of my music started. And I know I was going through that path, and I wanted to be very honest, from the start of the project, and then transition into the things that, full circle. It's funny because that's how it happened. Maybe I manifested it. That's just the way it works. But
Yeah.
it was all it was dark. I guess you could say
Mm.
explicit and dark is where it started. But I knew that just like therapy and having, deep conversations, I wanted to be able to write about it and to put it out to the world in hopes that someone else could connect to it. And that's what Able Heart, Able Heart, my mom's always said, you're able to do anything your heart desires. So that's kind of where the whole, that's where that came from, as well as the whole idea behind the project, and where I wanted to eventually see it, but I didn't want to neglect things that I could talk about that other people could also resonate with, that potentially could help them get through whatever it is, even if it's for 2-3 minutes, because I know that that's what music had done for me. But yeah, it's definitely an amazing field to be in, for sure.
Yeah. And I think you just, and that's what I hear from a lot of people when I ask them that question, is it's kind of the connection that they're feeling with another person, even if that person's not there.
Right.
What you write about, what you sing about, what you put out there, someone will be able to connect with it, and you never know, it might actually save their life, or it might turn their life around. So I think for me, that kind of is part of the power of music on a personal level. Then it can go global, but that's a whole nother discussion, I think, good or bad. So
yeah, for sure. Right. And that's why it's very hard, the balance of it. Yet if you're in one heavy side of it, how do you balance any of that? And I think it just depends, again, whether it's bad, for bad or good. It just depends, I think, a big part on who you associate with in your real life, because we all have these social lives, and we could portray whatever we want whenever we want, right? So if we're always upset and depressed and going through these things, yet we don't want other people to know that, it's easy just to post something that's just like, damn, he's really living his best life, but it's just not the case for that person. So being able to sustain whatever it is, like especially if you have things that are positive going on in whatever career you have, it doesn't matter if you're a nurse or anything else, and things are looking up, or you just started a business and now it's starting to flourish, whatever the case may be, it's so important to have in real life, whether you're posting that you just got a raise or whatever it may be, to have those people around you that also can give you constructive criticism, and that hopefully you're at a point in your life where you can take it, because again, nothing's personal, especially if you're with those people. Like, you want to see each other grow. You don't have to be doing the same thing. You want to be pushing each other. That's what this is about. And this is the journey, and then having the appreciation in the moment, because I think that's a big part of coming back to the moment, like consistently, that you're on this journey and you have these people in your life. But that's super important. The people you are, who you associate most with, that's for sure.
Yes. Oh God. Yeah, we could talk about that for probably another hour from personal experience as well. But
yeah.
And one thing I do find though is too, it feels like everyone's focusing on you have to be, not you have to be, but you should be, like you said, you should be happy and just put the positive stuff out there. But we all go through bad phases in our life. Right. That's normal, and it has to happen, because otherwise you don't grow. And one thing I did notice is, especially on social media, everyone seems to portray all the good stuff that's happening to them. It's like this fake life they put out there. But when they actually have a moment where they're crying or they don't feel well, they don't put it out there. And I feel that's so important, because it makes you human. Why shouldn't I put a post out there with me crying, saying, look, this is my crying face. I just had a shitty day. My life sucks, but tomorrow will be better. But just for right now, I feel like shit. And I really wish people would do that more, honestly, because it really winds me up.
I've definitely, more than people do, for sure. I mean, you have to be like, it's a lot of insecurities. Like, I know that's tough. I've definitely put some stuff out in the past that I was going through, like socially. A lot of other things were put out that I didn't know, but I've definitely gone through that. And I will tell you, at least from my experience, it's because it's hard. It's hard to be that vulnerable. And that's essentially, I also think, why so many people connect with artists, because all of it is vulnerability, no matter, like, especially when you're talking about things that you're going through in life, like, that aren't good, and whether you're singing about it or writing about it. I think people connect to that because it's the vulnerability, and there's so much relatability in that vulnerability, right? So that's why if you see something, and I totally agree with you. I feel it's not. I feel more people should, but I don't want more people to get upset just to post things that they're
Oh,
sad. You know what I
no,
mean? And I know
no.
that's not what you're saying either, but I think that more people should feel free,
Yeah.
to express the way that they feel inside socially. But again, it's hard.
Mm,
People go through things, and we also are in a day and age of, yes, the internet, but people are, there are a lot of people that could possibly have mean comments. There's a lot of repercussions for putting things out there. So that's a huge fear. It's like, well, if I'm this vulnerable and this honest, and because most of it, I will tell you, and at least for my experience, most of it comes down to, like, you're not scared that the other 6 billion people, or the 7 billion 600 and whatever 9 million people aren't going to see it. It's the one person that in real life. What are they going to think of you? It's always
my
that,
God.
at least for me. I can only
Yes.
speak from my personal experience, but it's not like the other. You're just like, oh, you could make a video where you're honest. Like, you don't even potentially, just think about this scenario. You make a video and you're talking to the camera. It's almost like again, not a therapy session, but you're just vulnerably letting it out through
Yeah.
over the phone with no intention to post it, right? And then you get some inclination where I just need to post this. Maybe someone else could help me with this. Maybe you have a question in that, right?
Mhm.
What you're saying. And you go to post it, and there's two totally sides of what could happen. And all you really, the main thing is, you don't care. Like, 6 billion people could see it. And it's the one thing that you're scared of, that your neighbor or your sister or your mother or your brother or your father or your friend is going to be like, what, like, one, you're going crazy, or what's going on, or care about you, or whatever. It's just that one real life thing. But
Yeah.
the other 7 billion doesn't
Yes.
matter. But here's the thing. For a lot of people, I'm sure, any one of those other 6 billion people, it would affect them. So I think all around, it's just said that, like, having vulnerability in a social sense is just, it's tough. It's hard.
Yeah. How was life before the internet? Been there,
For
done
sure.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, obviously, from where I'm standing, one of your big moments was when you were on Songland. Is that right? So that's kind of, that for me, looking from the outside in, was one of the pivotal moments that kind of really changed
Right. And
your
ironically, that
life?
was one of, yeah, for sure. You could totally say that. Yeah. And ironically, that was one of the worst places I was at before. Right when that happened, that was one of the worst places I was at ever in my life. Mentally,
Wow.
physically, definitely emotionally. But again,
You did it.
through the universe, I like I said, my earlier music was very, like, I wanted to be very vulnerable. And I think also I felt a lot more free to do it because it was a new project. Right when I started producing, I didn't sing. I'd never sung or wrote anything really,
Mm.
definitely not put it out like that, until I moved out to California. And I was fortunate. My sister had lived out in California. I just left the treatment facility. It was the one time, and I had been making music up to this, right? But I just had no balance. And this is all I did. And I just needed to, whatever. I just chose to not make the best decisions, right? And it was the one time in my life where I also was like, not only do I need to do something different, but I don't want to go home, because every time I wanted to go back to Philly, I wanted to be around the same people. I was going to do better. I was going to do better. And I see why. And that was always the excuse. Like I said earlier, we come up with these great excuses, and they're so, like, because a lot of them are real, they make sense to us. It's like, oh, this is why I effed up. But if I did it this way this time, that I could, then it wouldn't happen. Now I could get around it if I did it this way differently, right? But it's the definition of insanity. Consistently doing the same things over and over again, expecting different results. So,
Mhm.
and again, that just takes awareness and life. It's just experiencing life, right, and going through it. Hopefully, you just can make it to the point, or have someone in your life where uh, they can help you have that awareness, or you come to it yourself and be like, wow, all these things consistently keep happening. I know this was for how it was for me. all these things consistently keep happening. It's like, it's happened so many times. Like it's obviously got to be me, you know? And that's what it was for me. And I had moved out. I had no money. I have 70, maybe $70 and like a carton of cigarettes. And my sister had lived in California at the time. So I was like, I just don't want to go home. The one time I ever said that. So I went out to California, and my sister was nice enough. She had a tiny little studio apartment, like super small. And she let me stay when I first moved, sleep on her kitchen floor when I first moved out. And I would set up every time she'd go to work. I would sleep in the corner of her kitchen. And then every time she'd go to work, I would set all my music stuff up and just learn. And I went to Los Angeles with the expectation, like, I only produced again. I didn't sing, didn't do it. I was like, I want to do what I'm most fearful of. Like, this is it. It's a 50-50 shot. I'd been back and forth so many times, just, life or death situations and things of my own causing, that I was like, if I'm going to do this, like, I want to do what I've always wanted to do. And that was sing, along with mix, master, produce, sound design, engineer, and write. Right. But I definitely never sung, and I had never really wrote. Right. So, that's what I did nonstop every single day. And I just created a routine that I found would be more sustainable this time, because all my routines before were just everything or nothing, everything or nothing. Right. It was just always like that. So that's what I did. And I was out there for a few years, and then leading up to Songland, I was out there for maybe 3-4 years, and nothing career wise had happened, but I had learned a lot, definitely. I said more about myself, and living on my own and doing certain things than anything else. But in that amount of time, in 3-4 years, I'd put out a couple songs, and it was, again, more explicit music, but I felt it was a way of me I wanted to be vulnerable and talk about the things that I experienced. Right. And it was almost like a selfish way of being selfless, in the sense it was like, I get to selfishly express these feelings that I have that help me, right, continuously move forward and not hold on to them, while then selflessly, hopefully, someone hears it and they could connect and resonate with it. Right. So
obviously that happened, didn't it?
Right. So yeah. So right before I was moving, I lived in a place with a few other producer buddies. I had moved out of my sister's place, and lived with a couple of producer buddies, and I lived in the shed on the side of the house. I just built it out in the shed. I built it up, but none of that, like, I wanted to, that's like, I love, like, I look back at that, and those are also definitely some of the coolest times that I've had. And we stayed there for maybe about a year, and I was just like, nothing had happened career wise, but I needed to do something. We're supposed to move out that week. It was just too expensive. I couldn't afford it. I wasn't making any money. I had odd jobs out there. I also worked at a car wash, like whatever it took. And then I would just stay up all night and learn how to sing, YouTube how to sing and write and do all these same things that I learned how to produce. Right. It's like, well, if I did this before, I could learn all this new stuff now the same way that I did before. Right. But unfortunately, things just, obviously it's expensive in California, but yeah, we were just supposed to leave that week. And I was like, I need to feel like I did something. Not that I didn't do anything out there, but I was like, I need to put something out that I feel like I did, like I did something visually, right? Because I had put out a couple songs, but I wanted to like visually portray how I felt in the past of the music that I was writing, right? And the things that I'd gone through. And just, I would feel, yeah, like I had just done something while I was there, and so I remember running generators and trying to reach out to other buddies. And mind you, I didn't have any money at the time to like pay a video person to do any of the thing, or let alone have someone edit. And I had met a really close buddy of mine out there when I first moved out there, and he helped me connect me to somebody else. And so they heard the music, and they found out that it was the first thing that I was ever going to do. And they heard the music. They were like, I'll shoot it for free. We'll do it all for free. Like, if this is his first thing, like, we want to be a part of this. So I'm more than grateful, to my buddy Johnny and Alex. Like, still to this day, we stay in contact, but they believed in the project. And yeah, that was huge. I'd never really had that experience either, because of the people I had associated with before. So that was like a huge thing for me, I think, just as a human being, and like having friends and you know, because I felt like that's what I would want to do if I, you know, at the same
Mm.
time. So we went out and shot the whole thing and put it all, you know, put everything together. And mind you, I didn't have, this is the week we were moving out. And I was supposed to pack all my stuff, put it in a U-Haul and drive back to, or fly back to, probably drive because I had stuff to PA, or I was going to live with my buddy in Miami. And I wanted to post it. It was a couple days right before we were going to leave. I didn't know, couldn't pay someone to edit. I had all this footage, right? I was so grateful to have them want to be a part of the project and shoot everything. And then I had all this footage. I was like, probably it cost me how much I'm just going to learn how to video edit. You know, that's what I said. I was like, I learned how to do everything else. I got a week, you know, I'm just going to go
Oh my
take out
God.
a bunch of debt and buy a computer because my computer couldn't handle all the video processing. So I was like, I'm going to buy a computer and just go into debt, and then hopefully it works out, you know, but it's going to work. Like in my head, that's what it's just going to
Yeah.
work. And this is
Yeah.
going to make sense. And so that's what I did. And I stayed up 3 nights out of the week, you know, stayed up 3 nights and learned how to video edit in Final Cut Pro, and then put it out, you know, put it out. And at the time it had like 74 views. I put it out, had 74 views. You know, I didn't have any following. And one out of those 74 views was someone at NBC.
Boom.
And my life, my life. And yeah, it was, and I didn't believe it when I first, you know, sometimes again, when these things happen, and then something
Yeah.
finally happens, I didn't believe it. You know, I was like, it's a fake. It was like a prank phone call, or like someone's trying to get my credit
Oh
card
no.
number. Like,
Well, it wasn't
but
fake, so you
no, it
know.
wasn't. And honestly, and I've said this before, you know, I wasn't going to do it. I was too scared. I was too scared. Thankfully, if it wasn't for my mother, she was like, well, you're not coming. She found out about it. And she's like, well, if you don't do it, you're not coming home. You know, she was
Thanks,
so sick of me.
Mom.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out Mama Dukes. Yeah, I'm a mama's boy. I love her to death. But yeah, that I wasn't going to do it. I was just so many fears. Like, oh my gosh, like NBC.
Mhm.
And plus, and this is what I struggled with, like posting stuff on TikTok and all this. I was like, well, if I put this, I don't know how I'm not in control of what they're gonna post on like our like show. I don't know what, and then they could take what I make and turn it into something else, right? There's so many plausible, like realistically possible
Mhm.
excuses that could hold me back
Yeah.
from a life beyond my wildest dreams, just
Yeah.
because of a fear, right? A fear. And yeah, I think it was a combination of my mom and just for the fact like I didn't want to leave California, and I was leaving that week and I didn't have anywhere to stay, you know? And they had put me up in a hotel,
Mhm.
the show. And yeah, I mean, it changed my life. I said before any of that happened or I had won or anything, I said, I had already won. You know, I was saying this to everyone because they're like, I had a lot of people like, oh my gosh, like your music or like you're definitely good at. I said, I already won. Like none of this, I could leave right now just because of the experiences that I had, the people that I had connected with,
Mm.
my intro into like the actual music industry. I had already won. Like you couldn't pay for that information. You know, like the
Mhm.
information and the experience really more so,
Yeah.
and the amazing people and connections that I had made. I had already won. And then maybe because I kept saying that, I manifested it, and then I won. You know, so uh,
Yeah.
life
Amazing.
definitely works in mysterious ways for sure.
Which is funny. I've asked my community. I told them that, you know, I'm going to interview you, and I said, "Have you got any questions for you?" And one of my dear friends, Nat, she's amazing. So shout out to Nat. Thanks for the question. So I thought I'll throw
And
it in here now because I think it kind of fits in, and I feel I know the answer, but I'm not saying it. So her question was, if ghost producing was rewarding despite earning no royalties. And then she put, and I'm going to read this out, not to get it wrong. She says, because it's hard to do a job that, yes, you're basically doing as work for hire, but was it difficult to accept no acknowledgement officially?
I think later on, as you talk as far as ghost producing,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because I didn't even talk on that time. So all through that, just so for the sake of conversation, I won't go into it. But for a majority of part, to make any money at all, for sure, that's also what I was doing outside of the odd jobs and working at the car wash. But to answer, that question, I don't know. Like, it's weird because I was hoping that I could help other artists or producers in ghost producing and ghostwriting. I was hoping that by me helping them, we could form a great connection and we could help each other. It's like, how do we, just like I said, you find someone, it's like, you want to find those people where you help each other grow. There's not like, I'm doing this because I also believe in whatever it is. I'm ghostwriting. Yes, obviously, to be able to live and eat. Like, I think that's the thing. I did so many things, which is so different now in my train of thought. Like, I haven't thought of this forever. Like, I did so many things for free. Like, not, and it's so crazy. Like, really, honestly, truly, not expecting anything. Like, I wanted to do it. I was like, oh, let me do this, and let me produce this, or let me work on this, and let me do this. Not expecting, and it wasn't even like I thought that they would like it, and then they would it wasn't like that at first at all. And then I was like, oh, I could do this. Like, yes, I didn't understand, again, any of the music business, getting credited for anything, like having royalties and the percentage of nothing. I had no idea how it actually worked. But then when it came down to, like, I had to survive, just to live or eat. Yeah, I was like, okay, so I could ghost produce, like I could help do the stuff that I love, and then make money to support my full dream, But at first, it didn't feel anything because I think I've been so insanely, like, this belief that I have, like, it'll happen when it's supposed to happen. It'll happen when it's supposed to happen. Even if I'm not getting the recognition right now, just be consistent, keep doing whatever you're doing, like building them bricks, it's going to happen when it's supposed to happen, because that's how music happened for me in general. Right. So it didn't. But then what really, I guess, tainted me, or had me, once I had the awareness of how people are actually supposed to make money in the music industry, then I was like, damn, I was being used, but I wasn't upset. Like, I wasn't, at first I'm not gonna lie. Like, at first, like, a lot of the situations, I was like, how could that person, like, why would they do this? And I was playing the blame game, right? Which I understand. I'm sure I'm not the only story either. I mean, it's the name of the industry. But for a little bit, I was doing that until I had the realization of, like, what's it gonna do for me? Like, I'm not moving forward. I'm just sitting here and being like, well, if this would have happened, or this person did this, and what does that do? Like, it doesn't help push me forward. Take the friggin' loss, like, be a friggin' adult, take the loss, and then move forward. Learn how to position yourself to not have to run into those same situations. It's very simple. It's very simple, but we're so caught up with, at least I was, but the blame game, or like, why would someone do this? I'm never going to do that again because that's the way it's going to happen. It's like, no, just take from, nothing's a failure as long as you learn from it. Right. And once I understood that changed my perspective on everything. And mind you, I don't even think most of the people did it out of malintent. Like, most of the people that I was involved, because I was probably like, oh, let me just do this. Right. Let me just do this. So I can't blame anybody. If I'm being completely honest with myself, that's what comes with the way that I was presenting myself. Oh, well, he said he like, okay, no, I already talked to him. He said, totally fine. He doesn't want, and that's how, but that's how I grew up around a father that was like that. And I love my dad to death, but he would do anything with nothing expect. And so was my mom, thinking about it, and so there's nothing wrong with that. And I love them, and people that are like that, God bless them. But when it comes to mixing that in business is where I struggled, I was like, well, I can't, like,
I think you're
insane.
not the only one, though.
I know I'm not, but
I think majority of people struggle with that.
But
no matter which industry they're in.
For sure.
No matter what industry.
But I've had this conversation, and not to cut you off, but I've had this conversation with multiple people, and they're like, don't think that. Like, it is their fault. And it is, it's definitely. So what if it is? Like, what is that doing for me moving forward in life and learning from any lessons? If I'm going to sit here and blame someone or look back on things that I can't change, even if I wanted to, what is that going to do? So, but I do know if I could hold accountability for myself, my actions, and the choices that I made in the past, that's how I will never make them again. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
Right. So, but it's tough, especially when you've been hurt, have been hurt or have in any sense, in career or life, relationship, anything. All of this is so relatable in so many different
It
things,
is.
of life, of a human being. But once we have that awareness, then we could start the path of moving forward, right? And just, again, nothing's a mistake as long as you learn from it. It's a mistake if you just consistently make it. Really, it's just the definition of insanity, right?
Oh yeah. So talking
Yeah.
about moving forward, what's on the
Mhm.
cards for Abel Hart moving forward?
Moving forward, well, for one, I'm very grateful to, even be having, like, I love having these conversations. Again, I appreciate you having me on these. I don't know. I just love having these talks. So I really do appreciate it. And moving forward, I just want to keep putting out music, as much content as possible too. We have some other things in the works that I'm going to be posting about soon. Yeah. And, it's hopefully just allowing people to connect with whatever it is, music, or if we do some virtual concerts, anything or the content that we put out, hopefully someone connects and resonates with it, and just keep growing the base, because I want to get as many people, because I love having these conversations. And again, I love chopping this up and being able to put it out there, because in hopes, again, that someone could relate to whatever it is, because all of this is so dynamic in the sense of it doesn't just have to be about music, because a lot of
Yeah.
this is all life, just switch the word music career for, a dentist, or
Yep.
a nurse, whatever, what a veterinarian, like literally anything. It sounds silly, but it's so true.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and being able to put out content and just, yeah, grow all the channels, and just, yeah, hope it resonates with as many people as possible.
I know. Touring would be nice. Down under, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what we were talking about, doing some live shows for sure. So
Yeah.
I'm in PA right now, but I'm going to be, the next thing for sure is figuring out moving. So I'm either gonna be going to LA, or I can't do the winters. I'm very fortunate, and I love PA. It's no disrespect. Yeah, I need sun. I need certain weather. I feel it. I feel different,
Mm-hmm.
and it's yeah, that's just my truth.
Yeah.
So that's what we're figuring out next.
Yeah. Well, we're in winter at the moment, so I feel you.
Yeah, it's a real thing, at
Yeah.
least for me.
Yeah, it is. And I'm originally from Switzerland, so I should be used to the cold, but
Oh
no.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right.
So
Me too as well. I used to travel snowboarding. It was only cold. Maybe that's why I'm
yeah.
just like, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't know.
That's possible. Well, I usually ask one question at the end of every interview, but I feel like it's kind of a bit of a mute one for you. But I'll ask it anyway. I always ask if there is one song, genre, or even an artist that would describe your life right now. Which one would it be? And it can be one of your own. Doesn't have to be from someone else.
Ooh, uh, be super corny, but I have a song called uh, maybe no. I'd probably say the song "Worth It." Worth It. I'd probably say the song "Worth It." If you haven't heard it,
Yeah.
definitely listen to it. Okay, you heard it, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
I've
yeah,
heard
I would
most
probably
of
say
your
that one.
songs, so
I was
yeah.
gonna say something else, but I was like, no, that's definitely the vibe I've been
Yeah.
on for sure. That frequency.
Yeah. That's the one that's really going nuts on Instagram right now, isn't it? That
Yeah,
one.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Nat, the one who asked the question, she loves body language, so that's just as a bit of
Okay.
feedback. She says it's on fire, and that's yeah.
Oh well, tell her I appreciate it. Yeah, I do like that one as well. I made that in California.
Yeah. I kind of like it too. It's really different, but it's yeah, I like it. Right. Well, I think we could probably talk much longer, but I know your time's precious, my time's precious, and we all have other things we probably want to do during the day. So I think we're gonna wrap it up. Any last words? Any famous last words? Anything you want to share? You have on your mind, your
I guess
heart?
going off of the last note, no, I mean, if anybody is listening or watching or however they're digesting this, uh, right, you're not alone in whatever it is you're going through, and paired with the song "Worth It," you're definitely worth it, even if you may not feel like it at this moment. Again, you're not alone, and things things are happening bigger than you could possibly imagine. They're just not, you're just not aware of them right now. And when they present themselves, like, keep moving forward, because yeah, life will definitely on the other side of fear, life is it's definitely beyond your wildest dreams. So yeah.
Or as you said earlier, you're able to do anything your heart desires, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
Cool.
How bad do you want it?
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for your time, Abel. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Seriously.
Yeah, I'm an introvert, so my brain's going to process all of this for the next few hours. But it was really good. So thank you. And yeah, if anyone doesn't know about Abel, seriously, guys, get onto it. Check him out, especially on Instagram and TikTok. And he's also got a website, so you can go and check him out there too. And just show him a bit of love and support as well. And that's it, B-siders. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll be in your earbuds again next time. Until then, take care, everybody. Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.